I'm Alex Chun, and this is the story of how my boss's attempt to humiliate me backfired in the most spectacular way possible. But to understand how it all ended, you need to know how it began in a tiny cubicle at Market Force Analytics, where I spent my days being underestimated. Chun, these reports are late again. Marcus Sterling's voice boomed across the office floor. My boss loved nothing more than public displays of authority, especially when they involved berating his employees. Get in my office. Now. As I walked through the maze of cubicles, I could feel the sympathetic glances from my coworkers. They thought I was just another burnout case, another victim of Sterling's notorious management style. If only they knew what I was really doing during those late reports. Sterling's office was exactly what you'd expect. Expensive artwork he knew nothing about, awards he'd taken credit for, and a view of downtown Seattle he hadn't earned. He didn't even look up from his phone as I sat down. "Your performance has been slipping for months," he said, finally deigning to acknowledge my presence. Late reports, missed meetings, zoning out during presentations. HR is breathing down my neck about it. I kept my face carefully neutral. "I've been dealing with some personal matters, Dash." "Personal matters?" He snorted. "This is a Fortune 500 company, not a charity. We don't pay you to deal with personal matters." The irony of his statement almost made me smile. Market Force Analytics might be a Fortune 500 company, but they were dinosaurs in the data analytics world. While Sterling was bragging about last quarter's 3% growth, my personal matters were revolutionizing the entire industry. It had started 2 years ago during one of Sterling's mandatory team-building retreats. While he was busy making everyone play trust fall games, I was sketching out the initial design for what would become Quantum Vision Analytics, an AI-driven platform that could process and analyze market data 1,000 times faster than traditional methods. Nights, weekends, lunch breaks, every free moment went into developing my system. I'd learned early on not to share innovative ideas at Market Force. Sterling had a habit of stealing employee suggestions and presenting them as his own. So I kept quiet, played the role of the mediocre analyst, and built my empire in secret. "Your last project was a disaster," Sterling continued, pulling up a spreadsheet. "The Johnson account? They said your analysis was basic and uninspired." I remembered that analysis well. I deliberately made it basic because the real analysis, done through Quantum Vision, had helped the Johnson Company's biggest competitor increase their market share by 40%. They were now one of my biggest private clients. In fact, Sterling leaned back in his chair, clearly enjoying himself. "I've been reviewing your entire performance history. Do you know what I found? Mediocrity. Just consistent, reliable mediocrity." He was right about the consistency part. I'd carefully maintained a perfectly average performance record, just good enough to keep my job, not good enough to draw attention. It was easier than you'd think. Sterling was so convinced of his own superiority that he never looked too closely at anyone he'd already dismissed as unremarkable. "I'm going to do you a favor," he said, pulling out a folder. "I'm letting you go. Clearly, you're not cut out for the high-pressure world of corporate analytics. Maybe try something simpler, data entry, perhaps." As he slid the termination papers across his desk, I thought about the meeting I had scheduled for Monday. The one where Quantum Vision would be unveiled to select industry leaders. The one Sterling's boss had been desperately trying to get an invitation to. "You're right," I said, signing the papers without hesitation. "This isn't the right place for me." Sterling blinked, thrown off by my calm acceptance. He'd clearly been expecting tears or begging. "Well, but security will escort you out. Don't bother asking for a reference." I cleaned out my desk methodically, packing away the photos and personal items I deliberately kept there to maintain appearances. My real office, the one where I ran a $20 million company, was in a converted warehouse across town, filled with the brightest minds in tech. As security walked me to the door, Sterling couldn't resist one final jab. "Word of advice, Chun? Give up on analytics. You'll never succeed in this industry." I smiled, thinking about the presentation I'd be giving in 3 days. "Thank you for the advice, Mr. Sterling. I'm sure Monday's meeting will be very interesting for you." He frowned slightly, but I was already walking away. Let him puzzle over that. By Monday morning, he'd understand exactly what he'd missed. In my car, I pulled out my phone and dialed number. Lisa, it's done. Sterling took the bait exactly as we predicted. Start phase 2. I drove straight to Quantum Vision's headquarters, my real workplace. The converted warehouse didn't look like much from the outside, but inside was a tech paradise. Open workspaces filled with engineers and analysts, state-of-the-art labs, and most importantly, people who were valued for their innovations rather than their ability to play office politics. "How'd it go?" asked David, my head of operations. He'd been with me since the beginning, one of the few people who knew I was living a double life. Sterling was his usual charming self. I replied, settling into my actual office. No artwork I didn't understand, just clean lines and clear purpose. He thinks he just freed me from a life of mediocrity. If he only knew, David grinned. The latest test results came in, by the way. The new algorithm is performing even better than expected. Monday's demonstration is going to blow their minds. I pulled up the results on my screen, scanning the numbers that would soon change everything. Sterling thought he'd just gotten rid of an underperforming analyst. What he'd actually done was free me to fully focus on the company that was about to make market force analytics obsolete. Send out the final invitations for Monday, I told David, and make sure Sterling has a front row seat. He's about to learn a very expensive lesson about judging people by appearances. As I worked late into the night, finalizing the presentation that would shake the industry to its core, I thought about all the times Sterling had dismissed me, belittled me, underestimated me. On Monday, he would realize just how wrong he'd been. But first, I had a revolution to launch. Monday morning arrived with the kind of crisp, clear Seattle weather that made the city's glass towers shine. The Four Seasons Grand Ballroom was packed with the biggest names in data analytics, venture capitalists, and tech journalists. MarketForce's entire executive team sat in the front row, Sterling among them, all eager to see the mysterious company that had been making waves in private beta testing. I watched through the small gap in the backstage curtain as Sterling checked his phone repeatedly, probably wondering why his boss had dragged him to this event. He'd spent the weekend posting smug LinkedIn updates about maintaining high-performance standards and making tough management decisions. Those posts were about to age very poorly. 2 minutes, Mr. Chun, my assistant Lisa whispered, handing me a tablet with the latest system diagnostics. Everything was perfect. At exactly 9 a.m., the lights dimmed. The massive screens behind the stage lit up with the Quantum Vision logo, a simple, elegant design that would soon be recognized worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer's voice filled the room. Please welcome the founder and CEO of Quantum Vision Analytics, Alex Chun. The look on Sterling's face when I walked onto the stage was worth every late night, every condescending meeting, every moment of playing small. His jaw actually dropped. A cartoon character come to life in an expensive suit. "Good morning," I began, my voice steady and strong. 2 days ago, I was fired from my job as a data analyst. My boss told me I would never succeed in this industry. A ripple of murmurs went through the crowd. Sterling's face had gone from shock to pale. He was right about one thing. I wasn't succeeding in that role. Because for the past 2 years, I've been building something far more important. Something that will transform how we understand and use data. The screens behind me came to life, showing Quantum Vision's interface in real time. What you're about to see isn't just another analytics platform. It's a quantum leap in data processing and prediction. For the next 30 minutes, I demonstrated what 2 years of secret work had created. Quantum Vision could process market trends, consumer behavior, and economic indicators simultaneously, producing insights that would take traditional systems months to generate. The audience watched in stunned silence as I showed them the future. But don't take my word for it, I said, clicking to the next slide. Let's look at some real-world results. The screen filled with client logos, including Johnson & Company's biggest competitors, all of whom had seen remarkable growth using our system. Sterling's face went from pale to gray as he recognized companies that had recently pulled massive account from MarketForce. Quantum Vision has been operating in stealth mode, serving select clients who are willing to embrace innovation over tradition. As of today, we're managing over $50 billion in market analytics, with a success rate of 96.7%. The room erupted in applause. In the front row, Sterling's boss was furiously whispering into his phone, likely trying to figure out how they'd missed this revolution happening right under their noses. And now, I continued, I'm pleased to announce that Quantum Vision has secured series of funding of $150 million, led by Vision Capital Partners. The side door opened, and Catherine Wong, legendary tech investor and Sterling's personal hero, walked in. I've seen the future of data analytics, she announced, taking the stage beside me, and it's Quantum Vision. The next hour was a blur of demonstrations, technical questions, and impressed exclamations. Journalists frantically typed on their laptops. Competitors whispered among themselves. And Sterling sat frozen, watching his carefully constructed world crumble. During the reception afterward, he actually tried to approach me. "Alex," he said, attempting a friendly smile, "why didn't you tell me about all this? We could have worked something out, Dash. Like you worked something out with Janet's predictive modeling algorithm?" I asked quietly. "Or Michael's client segmentation system? Or any of the other innovations you've stolen from your employees?" His smile faltered. Behind him, I could see his boss walking over with a stern expression. "If you'll excuse me," I said, "I have some actual business leaders to talk to." "Oh, and Sterling, thank you for firing me. It freed up my schedule for our IPO preparations." The aftermath was everything I'd hoped for and more. Market Force stock dropped 30% that week as clients flocked to Quantum Vision. Sterling was quietly asked to resign after an internal investigation revealed his pattern of stealing employee innovations. Most satisfyingly, many of my former colleagues were offered positions at Quantum Vision, real positions, where their talents would be recognized and rewarded. 1 year later, Quantum Vision went public in one of the most successful tech IPOs of the decade. The company was valued at $4.2 billion, more than Market Force's entire market cap. I rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange, thinking about that cramped cubicle where this all began. Sterling? Last I heard, he was consulting for struggling tech companies, trying to convince them he'd been part of Quantum Vision's success story. No one was buying it. The old warehouse has been replaced by a stunning campus in Seattle's tech corridor. Every office has that view of downtown that Sterling was so proud of because at Quantum Vision, everyone shares in the success. The walls are decorated with our core values, the first of which reads, "Innovation can come from anywhere." Listen, yesterday, a young analyst came to my office with an idea for improving our system's neural network. I spent an hour listening to her presentation, asking questions, encouraging her to think bigger. When she left, I saw the same fire in her eyes that I'd had 2 years ago in that cubicle. The difference is here that fire gets fueled, not extinguished. I still keep my Market Force termination papers framed in my office, not as a reminder of Sterling or his petty power plays, but as a reminder that sometimes the greatest opportunities come disguised as failures. Sometimes, being underestimated is the best advantage you can have. Last week, I gave a keynote speech at a tech conference. The topic? The power of playing long games. Sterling was actually in the audience. Someone had comped him a ticket. As I described how Quantum Vision was revolutionizing yet another industry sector, I caught his eye in the crowd. He looked away first. My mother called after the conference video went viral. "I'm proud of you," she said. "But was it really necessary to keep it secret for so long? To let them think you were failing?" I thought about the lessons learned in that cubicle, about the power of patience and the advantage of being underestimated. Sometimes, Mom, the best success stories are the ones no one sees coming. Now, when I interview potential employees, I always ask them about their failures, their setbacks, the times they were dismissed or underestimated. Because I've learned that true innovation often comes from those who have something to prove. As for me, I've moved beyond having anything to prove. Quantum Vision's success speaks for itself. But sometimes, late at night in my office, I pull up Sterling's old performance reviews of me. Shows no initiative, lacks innovation, will never succeed in this industry. And I smile because there's a certain poetry in proving someone right about being wrong. The view from my office stretches from the Space Needle to Mount Rainier, but my favorite site is the old Market Force building, now dwarfed by Quantum Vision's campus. It's a daily reminder that success isn't just about having great ideas. It's about having the patience and strategy to execute them perfectly. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't proving someone wrong immediately. Sometimes, it's letting them believe they're right until the exact perfect moment to show them just how wrong they've been. That's not just good business strategy. That's justice served cold, calculated, and profitable. Just ask Sterling. If you can find him between consulting gigs.